All right, so welcome to Expert Media Matters, which is a sponsor. Expert Media Matters is a digital marketing company based in Honolulu, Hawaii. We're glad to feature our webinar today on top 10 ways to promote your business using social media. And we put together a Ask the Expert series, and this is the Ask the Marketing Expert series. The whole purpose of putting together these webinar series is we want to help small business owners and entrepreneurs and even larger business owners. And the topic today for today's webinar is top 10 ways to promote your business using social media. As you know, social media is the thing to do now for business promotion, whether you're a small business owner, entrepreneur, or even a large business owner. Effective ways to promote your business. We call it, and the industry calls it, social media management. And what that term means is that you use social media and you manage your social media accounts, whether you have one account or multiple accounts. You have to put together a whole marketing and management plan. And without that plan, you're going to be basically shooting in the dark and floundering unless you have a clear, direct, precise target, and you basically know what you're doing, and you have excellent memory. Otherwise, it's good to write things down and keep track. And how do we keep track of what we're going to do, or how do we plan? It's sort of like when you first decided to go into business, you had to put together a plan. And the plan is based on your idea, whether it's a product or service that you're promoting. You have to have a basic idea. You put your ideas together and you put it on paper and you start formulating a business plan. By the way, if your business started with all cash, that's good. If you didn't use all cash and you have to get a loan from friends, family, or a bank, the bank usually, or in most cases, they're going to ask for a business plan and a marketing plan to see if you know what you're doing, and basically to see if you're going to generate enough money to pay the loan back. And that's basically uh, that whole idea in a nutshell. So the first thing to do to help promote your business using social media is to create a calendar, which is a to-do list. So many people have a calendar basically for their personal things, like taking the kids to soccer practice, or uh, karate, or attending a yoga class, or going to church, or any kind of personal functions. Now, you would do the same thing, except it wouldn't be personal, it would be for business. So you create a calendar, and basically it could be very simple by um, taking each month and plugging in things you want to do each day. If you're ambitious, you fill out each day, and each day you have something to do, such as making a post on social media, or writing content, or coming up with a plan to shoot a video or a script. So there's any number of things that you can be doing. And throughout this webinar, I'll be talking about those different ideas and content creation things that you can do to help your business. Now, if you don't want to be that ambitious because you don't have time, then don't fill up your calendar. You may want to post 3 times a week instead of every single day. It's up to you. Depends, how much time and effort you want to put into your business. But because of that pandemic, I've advised a lot of clients and customers to basically double or triple what you have been doing in the past. And that's the only way where we're going to get back on track, because a lot of businesses, they're not doing too good right now. And if you're not doing too good, what do? You're going to have to boost up your marketing. Now is not the time to stop your marketing and sit back and wait things out. Now is the time to make the extra effort and double or triple what you normally have been doing when things were good. And that's the way to get there. Now, the other thing is you choose the right social media platforms. And what is the right platforms? Well, I'll be discussing that later on through our webinar. And there's certain platforms that are the most used platforms, and there's others that aren't used as much, but those platforms may be the right one for you. So not every platform is the right platform for everybody. So you basically have to see what works and what doesn't work and do your own testing. And I'll be talking about that a little later during the program. The other thing to do is to encourage engagement. And what do I mean by that? Well, you boost engagement with questions that you may ask. And the questions could be in the form of a poll, or it could be a form of, what do you think about this photo? And what I do in my uh, building and construction business is I use social media and I post a question to a photo. So I take a photo of some problem with the building, and the question would be, do you think this is safe? Or another question would be, um, do you think this is good construction work? And by doing that, you're actually engaging with your audience. And the more people that read your posts and like it or respond, the better, because you're building an audience, you're building a community. Even if you have one or two people responding, or 5 or 10, eventually, the more you do that, the more audience you're going to build. And from the 1 to 2 people becomes 5 to 10. Next thing you know, you got 20. And when you reach a point where you start having 100 or more, then that's pretty good engagement, because it takes a while to get these people to see your posts, think about it. If they decide to like it, and I'm talking about Facebook, they click on like. If they decide to not only like it, but actually respond to the post, now that's even better, because then you have activity. And somebody that responds to your post may engage somebody else to respond to that person's post on your posts. So it becomes like a pyramid effect. And that's the whole reason for doing that, basically to create activity. Now, your posts do not have to be business related. It could be non-business, it could be personal. And by the way, I've gotten more likes and more responses to my posts on Facebook that had to do with personal things, or had to do with some kind of funny posts that had nothing to do with my line of business. So, for example, I posted a picture of me on a cruise ship. I was on a treadmill, and it was an Alaska cruise, and we're going by a glacier. And I posted a picture that I took when I was on the treadmill, and it was, you could see the water in the background. And I said, uh, I'm in Alaska by the glaciers, and I see a whale. And the funny thing was, the way I took the photo, there was a mirror, so there was a reflection of myself on the treadmill. And people started posting, yeah, I see the big whale, it looks like you, and that kind of thing. So try to use humor also And believe it or not, it works. You know, you can shock people, you can do something funny, but I think the funny, humorous thing is way better than a shock. So, talking about your calendar, you fill in things that you want to do or things that you have to do, and you build a community, you build a following, as I mentioned. So, when you're making these posts, or you have your website, or you have any other things that you're doing on social media, you always have to provide some kind of value. If you don't provide value, the people do not want to read your posts or look at your website or do anything. Um, they might even forget about you or ignore you, and that's the opposite of what you're trying to achieve, right? So the basis is you do what you can to encourage people to join you, people who want to follow you, people who want to be there waiting for you to post something so they can post back or do some kind of reaction or an emotional thing to what you're talking about. So the image on the left, uh, we're talking about some of the top social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google Plus, Pinterest, Instagram, and there's a lot more, but this is a good example. And you may not use all of them. You may use some of them, but use the ones that work for you. Now, speaking about humor, I posted during the pandemic when we had a toilet paper shortage. I posted an image of cases of toilet paper, and the text was, "No need to stock up on water and toilet paper. Stock up on beer and wine instead." And it's obvious that I'm not trying to make a true statement. I'm just trying to be funny. And believe it or not, this post ended up getting like 300 something likes, and people started responding and turning it into some kind of news feed by saying, "Yeah, we don't have toilet paper here." And I got in responses from all over the United States where people were saying, "Yeah, in Statesboro, Georgia, we don't have any toilet paper. We ran out." And they're posting a picture of the empty shelves. And you see, all that kind of thing creates excitement where I created a following, a community. And then when I do post something relative to my business, hopefully the same group of people and more would be reading that. So that's the whole idea, to create people who want to follow you. And it goes back to the know, like, and trust factor. If they keep following you, even if you don't personally know them, they feel that they have a connection because they know you, because they responded to your post, they like your post, and you can develop a good following that way. And naturally they're going to like you, otherwise they wouldn't be following you. And they're going to trust you when it comes time to do business because they've been a Facebook friend of yours, or they saw your Twitter post or LinkedIn. So the big question I ask you is, where are you? And what do you mean? Where am I? Well, I'm sitting at home watching your webinar, Lance. Okay, that's fine. But the real question is, where are you on social media? Where are you on the internet? Do you have a presence? And if you do have a presence, what type of presence is it? So the sub questions of the bigger question, where are you, is your business information listed correctly online? And here's a tip: go online and type in your name, type in your company name on any search engine. Ask your friends and family to do the same and see what pops up. And you'd be surprised, because when I counsel business clients, I ask them, "Can you give me all your websites?" And, "Oh, well, I only have one." Okay, that's fine. I don't even ask them for their Facebook or any other social media names or not. I do my own check. And so let's say my client is John Doe. So I would go on my social media accounts and I would look up John Doe. Now, of course, that's not his real name because there'll be 100 John Does. But so I type his name on a search on Facebook, Instagram, and other accounts just to see what's out there. And then the next time I meet with him, I say, hey, you know what? I noticed that you haven't posted anything on Facebook since November 2020. He goes, oh yeah, I don't really use Facebook that much. Okay, well, what do you use? Well, I haven't really been using it that much because I really don't know what to post. And I said, okay, so let me help you that way. But then I say, I went on your website and there's some dead links on your website. There's incorrect information. It's confusing because on a business listing site, you have this address, but then on your website, you have this other address. And which address do you use? Both? And oh, no, I only have one address. I say, okay, so every little thing like that needs to be corrected to make it current because otherwise you got old information out there. Even a restaurant, they have on their website their hours of operation, and it's incorrect because they were closed and they're only open part-time. So if I were to want to go and buy something at the restaurant and I go on their this is the restaurant's website now. It's not Yelp or any other platform. It's their own website. I go on it and it is incorrect hours. So can you imagine if I drove over there to go buy a plate lunch and the place was closed? I wouldn't be too happy. So that's the reason why everything on your website needs to be updated. Your phone number, your address, the map, and all that kind of thing. Some places had two locations, but because of the pandemic, they closed one, but it still appears on their website. No, that's a no-no. You have to update it. Okay. So make sure your business information is listed correctly online. Everything, your location, your hours, even what you sell, your product or services. If you don't sell that product anymore, why is it on your website? Okay, unless you're taking orders or things are back ordered and you're still going to sell it. But if you can't get it anymore, take it off your website. It's the customer is going to get upset because of these little things that may be little to you, but maybe a big thing to the customer. Okay, the other thing is, do you show up where customers are searching? If your customer is searching a social media platform and you're not there, and that's where most of your customers hang out, then you're not in the right place. Okay, make sure they can find you. So the big tip is do a search on yourself and see what comes up. You're going to be surprised at how much incorrect information is there, how much information is not there, and then make a list of what you need to do to improve that. Okay, the image on the right is DuckDuckGo, and I'm not sure whether you're familiar with that, but you heard of Google, right? Hey, Google is the #1 search engine in the world. Today, they have 3.5 billion as billion with a B users, 3.5 billion. That's huge. DuckDuckGo is sort of like Google. It's another search engine, but they have 1.5 billion searches each month. And even 1.5 billion is a lot. Okay, but make sure that these major search engines, you go in and type in your name or your company name and see what pops up. Okay, I think you might be surprised. If nothing pops up in DuckDuckGo when you do a search, then that's not good because you want to be available on most of the major search engines. Okay? Because people aren't going to automatically know where you are, or they're a lot of times they're searching for you, and these are the search engines that they use. Okay? Oh, by the way, I just want to throw in Google, since they're the biggest search engine, there's problems now because they've been tracking users. For instance, if I go on Google and I'm looking for a guitar to buy, okay, so I'm looking at some music guitar sites, and then I have to go back to my work email. So I go back to my work email, and then maybe when I take a lunch break, I'll go back on Google search engine. When I go back on Google search engine and I type in something totally different, guitar ads start popping up. And for these music stores, this is excellent. But Google is tracking personal information, and the government is not happy with that because it's a privacy issue. So that's the difference. DuckDuckGo doesn't retain the same information as Google. And as you know, Amazon is in there too. So, I mean, the more tracking is done, the more sales are being made, because when someone goes, on their computer, all of a sudden things start popping up, cookware, guitars, surfboards, whatever somebody was searching for. Okay, so the government is trying to crack down on that because Google is basically a huge monopoly. Okay, another way to promote yourself using social media is be visible everywhere. Well, how am I going to do that? Well, if you're like Prince Harry or Meghan, they don't even need to promote. Okay, the media goes to them. So that's just an example. So if you want to be like them, or even close to them, you got to come up with different ways to market yourself, because they don't need to do that. You guys need to. And then make it easy to choose you. That's why I have pick me, choose me, love me. You create your own brand and platform, and you pick the platforms that you're going to use. And that's how you get the promotion. Okay, so by the way, I'm not sure, and I didn't watch the show, but um, the two people featured on People magazine were interviewed by Oprah, and they had 17.1 million viewers. And can you imagine if you were interviewed and you had that many viewers, how much more business you would get? And that's just the nature of what's going on. So what other ways, I talked about websites, and here's some tips on revamping your website. And I use the word revamping, but later on I use the word renovating, because it's like you have a older house you live in and you want to renovate your bathroom or kitchen. I'm treating the website the same way. So tips on revamping or renovating your website. As I mentioned before, you keep your website current. Do not have old information. I've seen some websites where they had some seminars that they were giving, and this is pre-pandemic. And uh, let's see, in August of last year, they still had a seminar they're promoting in 2019. Talk about old. Nobody wants this. I mean, it's obvious when you go to a website and you see old dates, you already know that the business didn't update the website, because otherwise, why, instead of having it there, just take it off. It doesn't look good because it's old. Okay. Very important. Where are your videos? Do you have any videos on your website? Videos are the rage now. And I'll talk about that a little more as we go through the webinar. The other thing is promotions or specials. Do you have any promotions? Do you have any specials? If you do, put it first thing right there on your website when people log in. The example on the right is a pizza place, and I won't mention the name, but it's Domino's Pizza, and their marketing strategy is excellent. You know why? You go to the website and boom, right there, it's $5.99. $5.99 for a pizza. And if that's not enticing, and of course, uh, it's choose any two or more, but $5.99 for a pizza, I mean, that's a very good price. So these guys have the idea. You put your promotion or special right there, boom, it hits people. So they don't have to scroll through a lot of stuff going, I wonder if there's any good deals today. I wonder if they have a special. They don't even have to ask. It's right there. It saves a lot of time. And the way their website is made, you click order online and you're right there. You don't even have to go search for their email or anything. Talk about convenient. Now, try look at the image on the left. You know what? It looks so confusing because they got so many things that they're selling. And guess what? This is actually the landing page, the first page on their website. And when I went to that, I'm like, geez, I don't even want to look at this. It's just too confusing. What is this? Some kind of online catalog? And why can't they, take about 5 items and then put the rest on another page? And I mean, this one web page could be actually 5 or 6 different pages on their website. So hopefully they do good, but to me and the average person, I think it's very confusing. How about revelations to posting creative content? I always say ABC, always be creating. And content creation is survival. Content is king. So, what is your story? Can you share your story? I'm sure you have a story, whether you have a product or whether you have a service, you have to have some kind of story. And the story could be, let me give you some ideas. The story could be, how did you start your business? Okay. Or the story could be, what was your most fun client or customer? Or what was your most challenging customer? Just think about any kind of idea that could turn into a story. Okay. And like I said before, it doesn't have to be relative to business. It could be personal. Like, what did you do over the weekend? Oh, you went on a hike. Okay. So take pictures of you on the hike or take pictures of the nature and post it. People, believe it or not, people are interested in what you do. They're not only interested in your business, they're interested in you as a person. And they can relate to you better if they know more about you rather than, well, yeah, the guy owns a restaurant, but I don't know what he does. And then find out that he goes surfing in the morning before he goes to his restaurant. Oh, okay. So if there's other surfers, they can relate to the guy because they do the same thing. Okay. Now, when I talk about create, that's part of creating your story, creating content, creating things to talk about, creating stories and snippets of things that you post to get people interested. When people get interested in you and what you post, they're going to become a follower, and that's how you develop your community. And if you don't have an existing community now, you start small and eventually it gets bigger and bigger. Okay. So if you think about, before we had the election, there were these politicians and it could be like no one knew who this politician was, but they have different things they do to create this story, get their message out so they can kind of attract more and more people. The more following they build, the more people are going to vote for them. And that's the whole idea. So we're not talking about you running for office or anything, but treat it the same way. Okay? The methodology is basically the same. Act like you're a politician and do your marketing similar to what they're doing. So we talk about a blog, newsletter, press release, secrets. What is a secret? The secret is just do it. If you do not already have a blog or a newsletter or send a press release out, now is the time to start working on something. Now, you don't have to work on all of them at the same time. Just pick one that you think would be good. If you're not really a writer, maybe get somebody to help you, or maybe jot some ideas down. You don't have to write a whole story. Just write some ideas, and then you go back to that idea and you can expand on it. And if you're going to write a book, you can't write the whole book in one sitting. You write chapters, or you write sentences that may turn into a chapter, and then you put these chapters together and it turns into a book. That whole process is maybe lengthy. So the idea is just to do it, just to start. And if you're a business, a newsletter is a good idea. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Let's say you've been posting on Facebook or Instagram or wherever you post. You remember what you posted, and you take these posts and you take that subject matter, and that's an article for your newsletter. Okay, it has to be newsworthy, but the idea is just, if you do any of these things or any one of these things, that's more than what you were doing before if you weren't doing it. Okay, if you are doing it, maybe do more of it. So let's say you do have a newsletter and it's published maybe 4 times a year. Okay, well, maybe you want to up the ante and publish it 6 times a year, or monthly if you feel ambitious. If you have a blog, post more to it. If you don't have a blog, you may be interested in starting one, and that's how you're going to create your community. So the blog newsletter is creating a community. If you have a press release that's sent out and is published, put that release in your newsletter. And that also helps create your community. So think about this, okay? You look at the media today, and we're talking about TV news, radio, daily newspapers. They all must create new content 24/7. No one wants to hear old news. So if there's no new content, people are gonna not want to read or listen to whatever media it is. So you have the daily newspaper. If they don't publish new stuff, why read it? It's a waste of time. So you have to copy them. So they're creating content all the time, and that's what you're going to have to do. Let's talk about fast start to video webinar production. The secret is just do it. Okay, so the question, what are you watching now? You're watching a webinar, which is actually a live video. Okay, so you're a participant in this webinar right now, correct? Yeah, so let's change seats. So if you are the host and the presenter of your own product or service, then basically that's your own show. That's your own webinar. And that's how you're going to start the webinar. And you get a webinar platform and you just start out. It may be a little slow, it may be not as professional, but if you practice, eventually you get to the point where you got more viewers. But here's a tip. When you start planning your webinar, also plan marketing of the webinar, because if you do a webinar and no one's there, it's like, okay, well, I kind of did all this work for nothing, right? So the key is you have to do both. Plan the webinar, produce it, and market it. The marketing is key, so you get people filling in the seats and watching you, because the more people that watch you, you're reaching out and you got a bit bigger audience. Let's talk about cross promotion and repurposing content. What is cross promotion anyway? Well, cross promotion is when you have these different things going on for promotion and you use it in, for example, you write a newsletter, okay, and you email the newsletter out. Well, also take that newsletter, as I mentioned before, and put it on your website. If you make a blog post, put the post on your website. If you make a blog post, take that post and post it on Facebook and Instagram. If you have a press release, use that release and post it, the link in your newsletter, and post it on your website. If you shoot a video, put it everywhere. And that's what's called repurposing content. If you do a webinar and even a book, well, you might say, I'm not a writer. I don't have enough information to put together a book. Well, you don't have to write a 300-page book. You can write a 10-page book, and it's called a booklet. And if it has all your ideas, that's good enough. So if you take all these different things and you figure out, how can I use this one thing and repurpose the content to make different little things with the same content. So in other words, you're working smarter, not harder. And I'll give you a good example of what Martin and I are doing when we create one single webinar and what we do to repurpose that content. So this is basically our case study, webinar repurposing. So the webinar that you're watching right now, okay, live, what we do is we take the recording of it. So we have a video, and we use that video, and we call it a webinar on demand video. And we put that video on our website. Okay, so that's repurposing. Okay, the other thing is the PowerPoint that you're watching today. We also put that PowerPoint on our website. And the flyer that I'm going to talk about in a little while, we also put that on our website too. So when we created and produced this webinar, we're not only saying, thank you for attending, see you later. If you have questions, email or call us. We're using the same webinar content. We're taking the video and we're putting it on our website. That's repurposing. We spent time making the PowerPoint. We're repurposing that PowerPoint as a takeaway, and you can get that on our website. And then the flyer, you can get that on our website too. So the previous website that I gave was Get Known Now, Becoming the Celebrity Expert in Your Field. Fortunately, the people that attended saw it live, but the ones that did not attend, they could still watch the video by going to our website and watching the video as if they were there. They can download the PowerPoint, print it out, and they can download the flyer, handout, and print it out. The flyer was Lucky 7 social media checklist. So as you can see, this is a perfect example of repurposing content. We did not have to make another webinar for the on-demand. We did not have to make another PowerPoint. We did not have to make another flyer. We're using the same information, the same content. And why reinvent the wheel? We have this already, okay? And it's pretty fun to do. Now, here's another tip. Most of our webinars are about 60 minutes. And what we can do is we can take that webinar and edit it down into, let's say, 10-minute clips of the webinar, or we could do it 5-minute clips. Okay, so if we do 10 minutes on a 60, we have 6 separate snippets or snackable videos, we call it. And each one of those, we can do the same thing. We can put it on our newsletter, put it on our website, all those different things. So I don't have to really record another webinar on the same topic. I can take this webinar and chop it up, and I have these different snackable videos. And so for, let's say, one webinar I do, not only do I have that one on-demand video, I can have 6 to 12 now on-demand snackable videos on similar subjects. Okay, so if you do that, all of a sudden from one webinar, you have now 10 different videos. So there's a movie coming out, Gorilla and Godzilla. So basically I took this example, Gorilla and Godzilla social marketing advice. Okay, and who, do you know, here's a question. Who is the bigger of the two? Is it Godzilla, or is it King Kong, the huge gorilla? Who cares, right? Well, here's a little tidbit for you. The Godzilla is almost 400 feet tall. That's a height of like a 40-story high-rise building. And King Kong is 350 feet tall, which is a 35-story high-rise building. So Godzilla is taller and I guess bigger. But that's a little tidbit in case you didn't know that. And you might, if you go see the movie and you have kids, that's something that your kids probably don't know. What is the best social media platforms? Use it or lose it. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you is, I'm going to run down the list. Social media platforms. Here's the key statistics. Monthly active users as of February last month. So it's February 2021. So this is basically current content. I did not get the stats for March yet. It should come out probably at the end of the month. So as you guess, Facebook is number one with 2.7 billion monthly users. 60% of social media users are on Facebook. And that's a lot. That's more than half in the entire world. Get this, 80 million small business pages are Facebook pages. So if you think about, you have a small business, well, social media is the way to go. Facebook is the number one platform to use, but it has to work for you. Instagram, about 1.16 billion. They have 130 million monthly clicks on commercial posts. So that's another good social media platform to use. Let's talk about TikTok, 689 million users. And 41% of users on TikTok are between the ages of 18 to 24. Okay, so keep in mind these statistics. Pinterest, 442 million users. 1/3 of the users use it to follow companies. Okay, that might be an idea. Reddit, 430 million users per month. Twitter, 353 million users per month. 63% of the users are ages between 35 to 65. Let's talk about LinkedIn, 350 million users. The average income per year of a LinkedIn user is $46,000 a year. And Snapchat, 2.35 million. This is interesting. 30,000 per day. And we're talking about users check their app, Snapchat, 30 times a day. That's kind of scary. Okay, so basically with this statistic, all these statistics that I just gave you, if you're selling skateboards or kids video games, okay, would you use LinkedIn? No, because that's not the right platform. So if you look at skateboard users that are young, between 18 to 24, TikTok would be the best platform to use, right? But there's certain things that you can and cannot do with TikTok. So you got to check out each one and what the features are to be able to see if it works for you. Now, if you sell crafts, and Pinterest might be the best one. So you have to see what your product or service is and see if it fits. Also, if it doesn't fit, then you might want to tweak it and see, if you run a different type of ad, if it's a paid ad, most of people run free, and a lot of users on Facebook and Instagram, it's free. So they use it to market their product or service. It's free, and basically that's their idea if they don't want to pay money for paid advertising. Okay, I'm going to give you a handout. It's a takeaway handout. As you can see, why are the lines blank here? Well, it's because I didn't create any content. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is if you don't create any content, your clients or customers will see a blank screen like this, and they're not going to hear from you. So if you look at number 1, 2, 3, 4, well, what's the key takeaway? It's blank. So the message here is you have to keep creating content, but we're saved because Martin actually created a nice handout for you. And here it is. Now, if you can't see the screen because you're watching the webinar on your phone and the print's too small, but guess what? At the end of this webinar, later, you're going to get emailed a link that has the actual handout that you can download, thanks to Martin. But let's talk about the top 10 tips to promote your business using social media. Okay, and I'm just giving you a brief rundown of what I basically talked about in this entire webinar. So create your calendar, fill in the blanks, and make sure that you give yourself work to do. Because if you're going to promote your business or service, you need to start the ball rolling, and you need to do more of what you're doing. So create your calendar, choose the right platforms. As I mentioned before, you select which ones are going to work for you, which ones don't work, then maybe you don't want to use that, and put your time and effort into the ones that work. But try it and see. Also, build your community using the social media platforms. Renovate your website. Take a look. I mean, when was the last time you actually looked at your website? Most people, it's set it and forget it, right? So um, take a look at your website, make changes as you need to, create content. Remember, content is king. It's always king. Shoot some videos. I didn't talk too much about making your own videos, but it's easy. Take your phone and do a selfie video, or have somebody else shoot it and take that video and post it. Start giving webinars. That's what we're doing. Publish your newsletter. That's always good. People like reading good content. Submit your press releases. Um, if you have that in mind, if you have something to say and you want uh, everybody to read about it, you have to start writing something and sending some kind of release out. And the last item I talked about is repurposing your content. What does ABR mean? ABR is always be repurposing. And I have also another ABR, which is always be ready, always be releasing, and always be repurposing. That is the 3 R's. And guess what? I have 2 R's, and that's rinse and repeat. So when you do the 3 R's, then you do the 2 R's. So if you keep that in mind, you just keep going, and you want your social media plan to be like a machine that just keeps going. You don't want it to stop, because once you stop, your competitor is just gonna beat you, and you don't want that. Okay, so what I wanted to do is before we get to the Q&A, wanted to let you know about upcoming webinar topics, and briefly um, I'll go down the list of the webinars that are coming up. We got top 10 benefits of having a great website. Basically is it's how to make a killer and thriller website. Then we have build your business with successful marketing strategies. And some of that is, or most of it is from the book that Martin and I wrote, basically with the same title. How to write and publish your book to promote your business. How to create videos. It's be seen and heard. Why you need a blog. How to start one. Cheap Facebook marketing ideas. Promoting your business free on social media. How to create a solid press release. And then got a very good one on repurposing media content that we're going to be actually doing some case studies, and it'll be fun. All these webinars are actually free, and it's fun, educational, and it's to help the small business owner and entrepreneur. I'd like to also, before I forget, thank you everyone for attending. It's always a pleasure to provide information on marketing, as I know the small business owners that are having a hard time right now. And this is basically what we're doing to give back to the community by putting on these webinars. And the best thing, it's free. And the other thing is that basically, Martin and I have been in business for many, many years, and we're just sharing ideas that helped us. And what better to share ideas to help other business owners? And it's different from reading a textbook saying, do this or do that. we're giving you real life examples of how we did things. And to me, that's actually the best. So at this time, I want to open it up to any questions or comments that anybody has. Martin, do you have any questions that came up on the chat or the Q&A?
Lance, yeah, I'm here. I did have a question about, I guess from one of the attendees regarding your selection of your audience. How did you determine that audience that you're marketing to? You had talked about that, I think, a little bit there of, you know, finding your audience. Do you have any guidance on that to target that right?
Interesting question. When I first started using social media, I didn't have an idea in mind. I just thought that from my construction management company, I figured my audience, I knew who my audience was, okay, but I tried to target those people, but it kind of didn't work out that way. So basically, I started posting pictures of buildings and saying, what's wrong with this, and things like that. And I ended up reaching a wider audience than I first thought. I got people that were homeowners. And let me back up. My target audience was commercial and condominium building managers and board members. And then it expanded to realtors and homeowners. And so although I had a specific audience in mind, it didn't go really in that direction because I didn't have a mailing list that I sent out to my hot audience. And I just started posting stuff on Facebook, and it just started growing and growing. And it didn't matter to me if anybody had a issue with their house or their building. I would help answer it. And it's interesting because on Facebook last year, I made over $10,000 from my posts on Facebook that people contacted me that became clients of mine. And all these were gotten from free Facebook posts that I made. So that's how I developed my audience. And it was very interesting because I'm happy to say that the $10,000 was actually profit. I didn't spend one penny advertising on Facebook in order to get that. So it actually worked. But the idea is you have to have the right audience, and you have to have more people because it's a numbers game. So I hope I answered the question, but I didn't really have a specific audience in mind. But knowing all that, you could actually target audience. So whatever service you're providing or business you have or product you're selling, if you make a list of who your target audience is, you can actually direct posts to that group of people. Okay. The other thing is if you want to do paid advertising, you could set it up where that's your target audience. You're only going to market to those people. So you could select age group, demographics, and all those kind of things. So if that didn't answer your question, post back or call or email us, and we'll be happy to help you. Do you have any others, Martin?
Oh, just respond to that, Lance. That's a great answer.
Okay.
I think you don't know who your audience is, or you think you know who your audience is until you really start going out there and trying to find them and realize that, like you said, it changes who your target audience really is that you're serving. Yeah.
Oh, good. So I got some questions that were emailed to me prior to the webinar, and I'd like to go through it right now. I just started my business, so have no community. How do I build a following? Okay, so basically it's a similar to the question that was just posed, and I have something else to add. You could actually create a press release for yourself, and once it's published, the people that see that may contact you, and you start developing a following from there. So you can repurpose the content. One press release is worth a lot of money because you use that to market your product or service or your business, and go from there. Next question. There are so many social media sites out there. I am confused. How do I choose the right one for my company? Okay, that's a good question, because basically I was asking myself the same question 10 years ago, and it's worse now because there's so many more social media platforms. Before there was basically, Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram, and now there's like a whole slew. It's hard to keep up the new ones that are coming out, but um, you choose the right platform by selecting what platform you're using now. So let's say if you're using Instagram and you don't really use Facebook that much, well, start posting on Instagram and see what happens. And then when you have a little bit more time, then you post on Facebook, and uh, look at other social media platforms to post to. And it depends what your product or service is. Like I mentioned before, if you're selling skateboards, you may not want to post on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is not your audience. So you look at the platforms that have similar audience that you have, and then you take it from there. It's a trial and error thing, because not everything is going to work for you, or may work. If it does, then better. So you just start off small, and then you kind of reevaluate things and go from there. Next question. When I try to write content, I always hit a block and have no ideas. What suggestions do you have? Okay. Believe it or not, that happens to me too. Um, but and here's what I did when I was stuck years ago. I actually went on my competitors' websites and looked at what they had to get ideas for content. And I wouldn't say I stole some of their stuff. I may have borrowed some, but that's how you get ideas. What is your competition doing? Also, get personal, as I mentioned before. So put your business aside and get more personal, and talk about your hobbies, your travel, because believe it or not, your followers are interested in that. In fact, I've had people comment to me and say, you know what, Lance, I I'm kind of tired of seeing your stupid building pictures, falling apart buildings. But I like your when you posted the photo of you and your wife having dinner at a fancy restaurant. Like, oh, okay. So you just there's certain hot buttons, and it gets emotional too. It's not all about business, 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 because I've had more feedback on posts that had nothing to do with my business, but it was personal stuff. So that's why people post. Uh, if you see business owners and they're posting them at the beach catching a wave, or I got one good friend who owns a restaurant, and uh, half the time they post pictures of their dishes, and the other half they're posting beach photos, photos of their dog, photos of them cooking at home dinner, and so it's just you just got to see what works. Okay, and the last question is, I attended your last webinar about branding. And apologize if this question is off topic. I cannot read my notes that I took. Are you able to send me your PowerPoint? Aha. Okay, so Yes, we can send you the PowerPoint, but you know what? We got so smart at doing this webinar system where Martin takes our video, our PowerPoint, and our handout, and he posts it on our uh, webinar website. So don't feel bad because it's there. You just got to go and get it. And by the way, um, you have to use your credit card to download the information. No, I'm only kidding. It's all free because we're nice guys and we want to help the cause. And we're ourselves business owners too, and we know how it is. It's hard work and there's a lot of suffering going on because of pandemic. So we're just trying to do our thing to help the cause. And um, remember, it's askmarketingexperts.now.site. The site that you went to register for this webinar, okay, is the same website that you would go to get all this free information. And believe it or not, this information is worth thousands and thousands of dollars and you're getting it for free. There might be a point in time where you have to charge. So take advantage now before we go into that monetization mode. Okay. But we don't need to charge because we're doing good now. And we got a lot of exciting new things coming up too. And um, we like to share information with you. And we invite you to attend the next webinar, which will be probably in another month. And if you have comments, questions, or if you have topics that you want us to cover on a future webinar, shoot us an email, give us a call. We'll be happy to talk to you. And I think that's it for today. And once again, Martin and I appreciate you guys attending the webinar. Uh, I don't think we got 500 people attending yet, but we're getting there. So until the next webinar, thank you, and we'll talk to you later. Aloha. Bye.